Alright, so this might turn out to be an extra long video because I have not one, not two, not three, but 4 articles to go through because like I said in the title, at least that's what I think I'm going to call it, this is a roundup of gay news that has happened in the past week. So, let's start with August 28th. Alright, so this is titled, First Ugandan Charged with Aggravated Homosexuality, Punishable by Death. So, that sounds ick. A 20-year-old man has become the first Ugandan to be charged with aggravated homosexuality, an offense punishable by death under the country's recently enacted anti-gay law, prosecutors and his lawyers said. Defying pressure from Western governments and rights organizations, Uganda in May enacted one of the world's harshest laws targeting the LGBT community. It prescribes life in prison for same-sex intercourse. The death penalty can apply in cases deemed aggravated, which include repeat offenses, gay sex that transmits terminal illness, or same-sex intercourse with a minor, an elderly person, or a person with disabilities. Okay, what if you're elderly yourself? I guess that qualifies if you're with an elderly person. I don't know. Person with disabilities, I guess it depends on the disability. Otherwise, what the hell? With a minor, okay. That one I can give them. Not punishable by death, but I'll give them that's ew. Unless the other person is a minor, in which case not quite ew. Gay sex that transmits terminal illness, yeah. If you're knowingly spreading disease, yeah, you probably don't deserve a happy life. So, again, I don't know about death penalty, but according to a charge sheet seen by Reuters, the defendant was charged on August 18th with aggravated homosexuality after he performed unlawful sexual intercourse with a 41-year-old man. It did not specify why the act was considered aggravated. That's what I was hoping that it would explain. Why is this aggravated? Because unless they consider 41 elderly, which I highly doubt, unless they're claiming that they're an item and they have proof that he's done it before or something, I do not know. Since it is a capital offense triable by the High Court, the charge was read out and explained to him in the magistrate's court on the 18th, and he was remanded. Jacqueline Okwi, spokesperson for the Office of the Director of Public Prosecutions, told Reuters. Okwi did not provide additional details about the case. She said she was not aware of anyone else having been previously charged with aggravated homosexuality. Justine Balia, an attorney for the defendant, said she believed the entire law was unconstitutional. The law has been challenged in court, but judges have not yet taken up the case. Balia said 4 other people had been charged under the law since its enactment, and that her client was the first to be prosecuted for aggravated homosexuality. She declined to comment on the specifics of his case. Uganda has not executed anyone in around 2 decades, but capital punishment has not been abolished, and President Yoweri Museveni threatened in 2018 to resume executions to stop a wave of crime. because we know that that's a deterrent. The law's enactment 3 months ago drew widespread condemnation and threats of sanctions. Earlier this month, the World Bank suspended new public financing to Uganda in response to the law. The United States has also imposed visa restrictions on some Ugandan officials, and President Joe Biden ordered a review of U.S. aid to Uganda. It's sad because Uganda probably does need that aid, and they're pissing away any chance at economic stability by being colossal dicks. Under the guise of, we don't want Western influence, even though they're using colonial age laws, which was Western influence, because that makes sense. Anyway, I hope things work out for that 20-year-old, because what the hell. But anyway, that's the end of that article. So let's go to the next article. This is from August 29th. And it is titled, Canada Citing Potential Dangers Warns LGBTQ Travelers of U.S. Risks. That's what it's come to right now. It used to be that there were travel warnings to third world countries or wherever there's a war zone or whatever. And now there are travel warnings against us. So yeah. Congratulations, right-wingers. You've created an environment where governments feel the need to warn their citizens about us. Great job. All right. Canada, citing the risk of potential dangers, is advising LGBTQ travelers planning trips to the United States to check how they might be affected by recently passed laws in some states, Ottawa said on Tuesday. Considering there are members of the LGBT plus community that are trying to get the hell out of certain states, I really don't blame them. I really don't blame Ottawa for doing this. Anti-LGBTQ demonstrations in the United States last year rocketed 30-fold compared with 2017, and legal moves to restrict LGBTQ rights are on the rise. No shit. Canada's travel advisory for the United States now includes a cautionary message for those who consider themselves two-spirit, lesbian, gay, bisexual, transgender, queer, questioning, or intersex. Or I'm not going to go through that acronym. Some states have enacted laws and policies that may affect 2S LGBTQIA plus persons, the advisory says. Oh no, there is no A there. I do not know why. Check relevant state and local laws. The advisory did not specify which states it was referring to. I would think that they'd want to, but I guess when countries are advising against travel in other countries, they don't necessarily specify the region. I'm not sure. Maybe they just say the country in general, and you'll just figure it out on your own. I don't know. The U.S. State Department said the United States was committed to promoting tolerance, inclusion, justice, and dignity, while advancing the rights of the LGBTQ community, and was prepared to work with like-minded partners from across the world in doing so. Too bad there are states that do not agree with that sentiment. Deputy Prime Minister Chrystia Freeland asked why the advice had been updated. said the Canadian government employed experts to look carefully around the world and to monitor whether there are particular dangers to particular groups of Canadians. Sounds reasonable. Speaking to reporters in Atlantic Canada, she added, every Canadian government needs to put at the center of everything we do the interest and safety of every single Canadian and every single group of Canadians. That's what we're doing now. She declined to say whether any talks had been held with the Biden administration before making the change. The overall risk profile for the United States remains at green, indicating a normal security precautions requirement. The United States is Canada's top travel destination, and in June, residents returned from about 2.8 million trips south of the border. About 1 million people, or 4% of the Canadian population aged 15 years and older, are lesbian, gay, bisexual, or of another sexual orientation than heterosexual, according to official data released last year. Really? You can put lesbian, gay, bisexual, but you can't put pan or asexual, or you had to just say, or any other sexuality. What? It's not that hard. You did most of them already. The largest LGBTQ advocacy organization in the United States, the Human Rights Campaign, has declared a national state of emergency, citing the proliferation of legislation in state capitals aimed at regulating the lives of queer people. Alright, so that is the end of that article. I mean, it's sad that there have to be travel advisories to the United States, but at the same time, can't say I blame them. Can't say I blame Canada at all, because this is just, the situation is pretty bad. So the third article, which is dated August 30th, I promise you I will actually make it into September. Nigerian police raid alleged gay wedding, arrest 67 people. And I emphasize the word alleged. I haven't read the article yet, but the fact that it's alleged says a lot about how absolutely triggered these people are about gay people. Just the absolute thought that there might, in some area, be happy gay people is just triggering for these people. It's just, I just can't believe that they don't have more important things to worry about. But anyway, Nigerian police raided an alleged gay wedding, which is illegal in the country, in the southern city of Warri in Delta State, and arrested 67 people, authorities said in a statement, following a tip-off from a person who knew of the event. Okay, since it's alleged, it could be still legit, or it could be someone who is doing the Nigerian version of swatting, trying to just cause trouble for these people. The tip-off about the ceremony came during police interrogation on August 27th of a male cross-dresser who was dressed as a female. I'm sorry, did you need to add that? I mean, okay. I guess they wanted to emphasize that at the time he was cross-dressing. I guess. Delta police officer spokesman Adafe Bright said in a statement later on Tuesday. The statement didn't say when the raid took place. Bright said those arrested would be charged soon in court. Okay, now, I'm pretty sure Nigeria doesn't have rules like, oh, don't beat the shit out of your witness. So, again, it could be that this was a gay wedding, or he made shit up because, well, they were torturing him. At this point, we don't know. In Nigeria, like in most parts of Africa, homosexuality is generally viewed as unacceptable. Unacceptable is way too nice of a word. And a 2014 anti-gay law took effect despite international condemnation. Cross-dressing is not illegal, but tends to be socially not accepted. The policeman chased and arrested a total number of 67 suspects for allegedly conducting and attending a same-sex wedding ceremony, Bright said. Investigations revealed that a drunk guest who was arrested during the raid was allegedly raped by a suspect who is now at large, he said. Okay, so was he really raped? Or did he say that because, well, homosexuality is illegal? Of course he was drunk, so technically, yeah. So Nigeria is willing to accept the Western definitions of rape, but not that homosexuality isn't evil. Okay, that makes sense. Efforts were underway to arrest others who fled the scene, Bright said. Well, since they fled, I guess it was a gay wedding, or the police are, people in general are that afraid of the police that they just don't want to have anything to do with them. Africa's most populous nation's anti-gay law includes a prison term of up to 14 years for those convicted and bans gay marriage, same-sex relationships, and membership of gay rights groups. All right. So that is all for that article. And now for some possible good news, since so far all my articles have been really ick. This one is titled, More LGBTQ Rights Could Help Asia Financial Hubs Draw Global Talent. In Hong Kong's highest court, 5 judges are deliberating whether to recognize same-sex marriages conducted overseas. Oh, this is from August 31st. I guess I lied about that we would get into September. Their decision, expected later this year, could influence Asian financial hubs from Tokyo to Singapore to draft more inclusive laws as a draw card for the diverse global talent that multinational corporations from banks to technology giants are seeking to hire and retain. Corporates have a massive role to play. They still drive the conversation in a lot of these countries where the legislators aren't, said Janet Ledger, chief executive of Community Business, a not-for-profit organization that promotes diversity and inclusion in companies across Asia. Only Taiwan and Nepal allow same-sex unions in Asia, where largely conservative values still dominate politics and society. Which is kind of too bad, because if you look at the history of, say, China, homosexuality was not seen as anything but normal. It was, nobody batted an eye. That just happened. I'm not sure about Japan. Japan probably did too, but I know for a fact China. Some countries, however, have recently taken inclusive steps, including India. India, really. Where the Supreme Court is debating whether to allow same-sex marriage in the world's most populous nation. South Korea, where lawmakers proposed a same-sex marriage bill in May, and Singapore, which last year scrapped a British colonial-era law criminalizing sex between men. Okay. First off, I'm surprised India because Narendra Modi seems to want to become like Trump and become fascist. So that's surprising. Very surprising. Let's see. I was half expecting them to say something about North Korea. I really was. But um see, this is Singapore is truly showing how they're dropping the yoke of colonialism. They're dropping colonial laws like, criminalizing sex between men, which Africa seems to be ignoring that part, whereas at the same time they're saying that they don't want to be influenced by the West, which without understanding that they're following colonial laws which came from the West. At least Singapore is being consistent. Anyway, in Hong Kong, the 5-year legal battle by democracy and LGBTQ rights activist Jimmy Sham for his New York marriage to be recognized at home has helped raise awareness, with a poll this year showing over 60% of respondents supported same-sex marriage, almost double the number in 2013. Hong Kong will also host Asia's first gay games in November, its first major LGBTQ-focused event, and if the Court of Final Appeal rules in Sham's favor, the city would be the most advanced among its financial hub peers in terms of LGBTQ rights activists and businesses say. Hong Kong has a real opportunity to take the lead here and give a clear message, says Gigi Chow, the vice chair of listed Hong Kong property firm Chuk Nong Holdings and a prominent gay rights advocate in Asia. I'm confident that we will get there in the end, Chow told Reuters. Business groups in Hong Kong, Singapore, and Japan have become increasingly vocal in making the case that Asia's leading economies must do more to encourage diversity. In Japan, the only group of 7 nation without legal protections for same-sex unions, corporations are seen as a key driver for change as Tokyo aims to increase its clout as a global financial center. Japan's recognition of marriage equality would raise its profile in Asia Pacific, wrote the American Chamber of Commerce in Japan, whose members include over 600 companies, including nearly 100 Fortune 500 firms across 60 sectors. Japan cannot afford to lose talent to their global competitors, it added in a report published in April. A poll this year by Kyodo News Agency of just over 1,500 people showed that nearly 70% supported same-sex marriage. But Japan's 126 million population remains largely conservative, and many lawmakers, including members of the ruling Liberal Democratic Party, have opposed such unions, saying they cherish traditional family values. Proof that the U.S.'s understanding of liberal and the rest of the world's understanding of liberal, or at least Asia's understanding of liberal, not the same. For LGBTQ people, Japan is not considered an easy location. Moriaki Kida, the CEO and chairperson of global consulting firm EY Japan, told Reuters. Headquarters must wake up and instill values, purpose, and then also their employees' policies that are encompassing everywhere around the world, Kida said. Now, like I said, I'm pretty sure not just China, but also in medieval Japan, I'm pretty sure homosexuality was like shrug. But who knows how many of the citizens know of their history. So LGBTQ plus people also face hurdles in largely conservative South Korea, which Human Rights Watch says lacks legal protections against discrimination based on sexual orientation and gender identity. 4 in 10 South Koreans support legalizing same-sex marriage, according to a Gallup poll in May. But any change to the law would need to be approved by the political parties who are closely allied with conservative religious groups. Yay. South Korea has always gone through a rapid change and will continue to. The only obstacle, I think, is politics, says Kyung Shim with Seoul-based youth LGBTQ organization Dawoom. While corporate rarely lobby Asian governments directly on LGBTQ rights, activists say they show their support through sponsorship of LGBTQ events and pride-themed marketing. In Singapore, the annual Pink Dot gathering for the LGBTQ community and allies was sponsored by 91 companies, though under rules laid down by the government, foreigners cannot attend the event and foreign companies cannot sponsor the rally. I'm okay with that because that just shows that this is within the country, that they're the ones who support it, as opposed to pointing and claiming that it's being forced upon them from outside. So I'm okay with that. Foreigners can take part in the commercial Pink Fest, which this year included a careers fair hosted by WeWork and sponsored by Dyson, Nomura, and Standard Chartered Bank. Singapore is keen to cash in on so-called pink dollar, or the spending power of the LGBTQ community. And since the government scrapped the law criminalizing sex between men, members of the community say they feel more confident. Well, yeah, I mean, they won't get arrested simply for existing. So that will give you more confidence. But alongside the decriminalization of sex between men, the government also amended the Constitution that only Parliament can decide on the definition of marriage, effectively rendering court challenges pushing for same-sex marriage futile. Now, I just have a question. It only says sex between men. What about women? Was there never a law about women because it never dawned on the British colonials that women can be lesbians, or is that something separate? Let's see. While activists acknowledge that changing traditional values takes time, they say corporates are best placed to influence business-minded governments like that of Singapore. This is the one time when lobbying is a good thing. Because usually lobbyists lobby for horrible shit. But in this case, it would be a good thing. Katie Teo, I guess, of Singapore's first LGBTQ Chamber of Commerce, said society as a whole benefits from inclusivity. Well, yeah. The best talent in the world are not just LGBTQ individuals, but they're also comprised of people and individuals who are actually more progressive, said Teo, whose Q chamber includes Google, IBM, P&G, and fintech firm Revolt as members. Who prefer to live and work in places where diversity, inclusivity, and innovation can thrive as opposed to not? Okay, it sounds like somebody started the quote the middle of a sentence, but okay. So yeah, hopefully, if for no other reason, people become more accepting of, governments become more accepting of LGBT plus people, if for nothing else, to maximize on the fact that, we spend money, we would move there if we had a nice job, that without worrying about our safety, even if it's only that's at least something, because that will, the more people are exposed to actual LGBT plus people, as opposed to what's happening in Africa, which is having all sorts of horrible, horrible myths about the community and who we are. That will help to make people more accepting of the community. So, yeah, if it that's the way it starts off, that's fine. I mean, hell, every Pride Month you see companies coming out of the woodwork to support the community, but how many of them actually do support the community? So, at least that's a foot in the door. So yeah, that's the good news. But anyway, I believe I covered all 4 articles, so I will see you in the next video.